So closing your eyes once you've done that, settling into the body again and connecting in with your breath. Letting those ancestral ones and with the air move in and out of your body. And thanking the ancestors and thanking I mean the human and the other than human who've come before. Thanking your own body for receiving this air. And shifting your perspective now to from within to the scope of all the humans. Past, present, and future. Like as if you could see it from a high place, all the gathering of all the humans. Welcome them, if you can. The ugly ones and the mean ones and the beautiful ones and the scary ones and the unusual ones and the tiny ones, the ancient ones. Welcome them, if you would. And you might call out now from your heart a request to this creature we're calling modernity. Would you please come? Would you please show yourself to me? Would you please reveal yourself to me? And notice how this one approaches you, or arrives, or reveals themselves. If they haven't come yet, just keep asking and inviting, very gently, without pressure. And like you would a flower or a tree, just notice the shape of this one. What kind of body it has, this creature. If it's hard or soft, scaly or hairy, or however it looks to you, notice, what is this body of this one? And now opening the sense, the gateway of smell. And letting yourself smell modernity. What does this one smell like? Pungent, sweet, stinky. What does modernity smell like? Opening the sense, the gateway of the mouth. How does modernity taste, if you would imagine tasting modernity? What might the taste be of this one? Now opening the gateway of the ears, the sense gate of the ears. What does modernity sound like? Does it make this creature make noises? Do they have a voice? Are they having sounds coming from their body parts? From their throat? How does this creature move? Notice their movements. Are they staccato or are they gentle? Are they fluid or jerky? How does modernity, this creature, move? And what is modernity's age? Are they young? Are they ancient? Are they future being? Are they deep time being? Out of time being? Are they a being on a threshold? What's their relationship to time and their age? And what's your sense of how this one is doing? Are they well? Are they... And let yourself be surprised, you know. We might have ideas already about what we think, but really let yourself be surprised by this one who's come. Let this one tell you how they're doing. And the last question here is, what is modernity whispering in your ear? What is modernity whispering in your ear? What does modernity have to say to you? So thanking modernity for their time. Maybe there's something else you want to say back to modernity. But taking your leave from this encounter, this visit, and seeing once again, as modernity leaves, the great collection of humans past, present, and future. And returning to your own heart, here and now, this body, in this time. So I've asked modernity to tell this story through me, so that we might listen to modernity's version of the story, naming the months, framing a life. There is blood on the key, unlocking the door. There is blood on the key, unlocking the door where lives hide, composing, decomposing. There is blood on our hands. There is blood on the key, on the stones, on the street, the curl of a red river, a dot, like that first shedding on my 13th birthday. There's blood on the key inside the egg, on the brow of the head between the horns, in the heart a leak, speaking death's name. There is blood on the key, on the bed, between the legs, 3 times a tide of it, blooming like the moon, naming the months, framing a life. There is blood on the key, unlocking the door where lives hide, composing, decomposing. There is blood on our hands. The Bluebeard family was an old family. With old money. They'd been living in the same 300-room castle in Brittany for hundreds of years. Some say the Bluebeard patriarch was a wizard who passed his knowing on from father to son. Some say the Bluebeard patriarch was nobility, one who was almost king, but failed. Some say the Bluebeards were hiding a great and terrible secret. In the castle, of course, many people from the village worked there. And so, no one was supposed to know about the goings-on inside the castle, but of course everyone did, because the gardeners and the cooks and the nurses and the butlers and the dressers and all the people that worked there would tell their families. And they would tell their friends, and they would tell their families, and they would tell their friends, until the entire area for villages around knew the intricate and intimate goings-on inside the Bluebeard castle. Therefore, I have it on good authority that this is what happened to the last Bluebeard. He died without having a son of his own, you see, and so he was the end of the line. When this one was a young man, this last Bluebeard, he fell in love with a princess. And they married. And not only did she bring a considerable dowry, making the Bluebeards even richer, but she also brought connections all over the world. People of power. She was from a princess, the princess was from a kingdom far enough away that she had not heard that the men of this family, as they aged, for some reason had a strange indigo tint to the color of their beards. So she came to the castle, quite innocent and joyful. And they were very happy together. So happy. And 1 year went by, and 2 years went by, and in the 3rd year, when the princess was still not pregnant, people began to talk. They began to wag their tongues about what the problem was. They doubted the Bluebeard power, or wizardry, or capability, or virility. And they began to give her ideas and try and solve the problem of why she still wasn't pregnant. And as the 3rd summer drew to a close, for reasons no one understood, not even those who worked in the castle, for reasons no one understood, the princess suddenly vanished. All were grieved at her absence. And Bluebeard himself, her husband, left the castle and was gone traveling for years. He didn't come home when his father died. He didn't come home when his mother died. There were reports. There were reports and rumors. That he had another wife from another land far off. There were reports of his growing power and riches. There were reports of more wives, 3, 4, 5 wives, and photos of his ever bluer beard. As the 5th wife, too, suddenly vanished, and the rumor mill had taken its peak. Oh, she was ill. Oh, she died in childbirth. Oh, she was killed by someone. Oh, she died at sea. Bluebeard arrived home, back to the castle, which had stood empty for a few years, with carriage after carriage of gold and jewels and wealth. But he returned alone, with one servant and a cook. Now it just so happens that there was a widow living in the next village with 3 daughters and 2 sons. And they had grown while Bluebeard was away, and they had grown in beauty and poise. And they were just nobility enough to be considered not quite beneath him. And they, having spent most of their money that the husband had left, were just poor enough to not have any other choice. And so, when Bluebeard invited the 3 daughters and their mother on a picnic, they accepted. And he came with beribboned horses and a carriage full of delicacies from all over the world and delicious morsels cooked by his own chef. And he came bearing gifts. And he whisked the 3 of them and their mother into the carriage and brought them to the most romantic, most beautiful place in the world for a picnic. Alongside the river. And he was charming, Bluebeard. He was charming and pleasant and interested in them, and would ask questions and tell stories and laugh. And oh, the food, oh, it was so delicious. Oh. And so, when Bluebeard brought them back, the 3 sisters that evening talked amongst themselves, and, oh, you know, his beard wasn't so blue. Oh, you know, he is quite charming, isn't he? Oh, haha, you know, he's quite handsome. And a few days later, when the invitation came for the 3 sisters and their mother to come to the castle and walk the grounds and see where one of them might one day be mistress, of course they could not resist. And again the beribboned horses and the carriage gilded with gold came to pick them up from their house and bring them to the castle. And oh, the luxury, oh, the excess, oh, the riches, oh, the absurd gorgeousness of it all. And again, Bluebeard showered them with gifts, exotic gifts from afar. Strange things they'd never seen before, or smelled before, or tasted before. And so when they went home that evening, the 2 older sisters even though they actually had beaux in the village, found it hard to not consider Bluebeard. They thought about what would be the best and which one was most handsome and most intelligent and charming and kind. And the youngest was already planning the wedding in her mind. She'd fallen head over heels. And so, a time later, when Bluebeard invited them to come for a dance in the ballroom at the castle, they of course said yes, and he came again, this time personally, with the ribboned horses and the carriage, and picked them up and whisked them to the castle, where he danced with each of them. And each of them in turn he asked to be his wife. And although the evening was intoxicating as well as the champagne, and the dancing was beautiful and the music amazing, the older 2 sisters declined. But the third sister, Bluebeard didn't even get the question fully out of his lips before she said yes! And they were married soon after, at the end of the summer, in the golden days of warmth and languor. And they had beautiful months together, traveling everywhere in the world they wanted to go. Buying everything they wanted to buy. Meeting all kinds of interesting people. buds began to swell on the trees, and they were back home in the castle. Bluebeard said to his wife, "I must go on a journey for work, darling. You stay here, and I'll be gone for a few months. You may do everything you wish. Look, I'll give you the keys to the castle, and you may go into each of the 300 rooms and explore everything because, darling, it belongs to you. Invite your sisters or your mother to come and live here with you. Invite your brothers to go hunting. Anything your heart desires. Order from the chef. Have yourself dresses made from the stores of silk. There's only one thing I ask. One thing you may not do. Just one. Do you see the littlest key on the ring, my darling?" "Yes," she said. "The one with the scroll work on it, this little tiny one." "You are never to go into the room that this key opens. Into every room, all 300 of them, you may, but in this one, you are forbidden. And if you choose to go in there, darling, there will be grave consequences." And Bluebeard left the next morning. In the first days, she enjoyed being in the great castle all by herself. She enjoyed poking around. She played the piano and read books and took walks in the garden. But after about a week, she began to grow bored, and she began to grow lonely. And she began to become scared. And so she wrote to her sisters and invited them to come and live with her. And they did. And they had such a marvelous time, playing and trying on dresses and ordering dresses to be made and eating all kinds of delicious things and laughing, riding horses and running around through the forest. And then it began to rain. And rain. And rain. For days it rained. And her older sisters grew visibly bored and not amused. And the youngest sister was so scared they would leave again and she would be alone again that she had the idea, "Oh, let's take the ring of keys and see which door each key fits into." And so they began a marvelous game of trying every key and every lock and looking into the most incredible rooms. Stores of gold and porcelain and furniture and jewelry and jewels and dresses and everything you could possibly imagine, all of the bedrooms from the previous Bluebeards. Children's toys and musical instruments, just everything. And so they had a marvelous time. Until they came down to the cellar. and they'd been through all the keys, except for the smallest one with the scrollwork on the top. It was at that moment, while they stood there in the cellar, the two older sisters looking for the door, that the youngest sister remembered what Bluebeard had said. That she was forbidden to use this key. And just as she was about to say something, just as she was about to suggest they had better actually go upstairs and she was really hungry and shouldn't they stop now they'd had enough fun, a door creaked shut, and the two sisters ran over, and just as the door closed, they arrived. Give me the key, let's go in, said the oldest sister. Oh, please, oh, come on, don't be such a baby, said the second sister. And the youngest one stood there, frozen, scared what would happen if she gave up the key and they opened the door that Bluebeard forbade her to open. And scared that if she didn't, her sisters would be disappointed and would leave. And she stood there, holding the little key in her hand, trying not to look at her sisters. Frozen. "Oh, give it here," said the oldest, ripped it out of her hand and opened the door. The sisters will tell you later, as they did then, that the first thing was the smell. Sweet, sticky, rotting, bloody smell. As they stepped through the door, and their eyes adjusted. Hey! Ah! 6 heads on 6 pedestals, with 6 bowls of blood before them, and 6 trunks of dresses along the walls. Each of Bluebeard's wives lay. The 2 oldest sisters walked slowly backwards, horror-struck. But the youngest was spellbound and spell-cast and drawn forward into the room, the smallest key in her hand. She didn't really know what was going on, but she couldn't resist. She stood in front of each of their faces, each one beginning with the princess, more beautiful than the last, each one younger than the last, each one from a different country and culture, as if they too had been collected. The last one, the most recent wife, looked as if she were only sleeping. And she leaned in to get a closer look. She was pulled forward towards the face of this woman, and so deep was the trance that the littlest key fell out of her grasp, landing in the bowl of blood, which broke the spell, and panic took over her heart, racing. She cast around, looking for something that she could find in order to bring the key out of the bowl of blood. She saw a candle and took it, fishing around inside of the bowl until she arrived at the key and pulled it up out of the bowl, grasping it with her own dress and drying it off. And then running out of the room as fast as possible, closing the door, locking it, running all the way upstairs to her room. And the key in her hand kept bleeding. Her hands were covered in blood. She tried horsehair to staunch the bleeding. She tried ashes from the fire to stop the bleeding, and nothing worked. She wrapped the key in gauze and put it in her wardrobe and changed her clothes and washed her hands and went down for dinner. And it was a somber, quiet, horror-filled, uncomfortable dinner in which none of the three girls could eat very much. The two older sisters tried to convince their youngest sister to come home with them, to leave the castle at once. But she would not go. She was loyal to her husband. And so the two older sisters went up to bed for the evening, leaving their sister alone. In the morning, two things happened that were unexpected. First, the older sister took a horse and rode home to tell her mother and her brothers what they had found and to get help from their brothers and bring them back to the castle to convince their youngest sister to get out of there. And the second thing is, Bluebeard came home. Maybe he really was a wizard. Maybe somebody was spying on his wife. But anyway, he showed up the next morning after they found the bloody secret in the cellar. The youngest sister, his wife, greeted him lovingly, stroked his face, kissed him, took his jacket, did all of the wifely loving things that wives do, greeting husbands who've been gone a long time. But the middle sister sat with fear in her eyes, and Bluebeard saw it. "How was your time away, my darling? I came home early, I missed you so," said Bluebeard. "Oh, it was wonderful. We looked in all of the rooms, all 300. Oh, it's so amazing. You have such an incredibly beautiful castle, Bluebeard." "We have a beautiful castle, my darling." "What did you like best?" he asked. "The jewels? The spices? The silks? The gold?" And the middle sister fidgeted and changed her body on the chair in an awkward, uncomfortable, nervous kind of way, while his wife prattled on about how beautiful everything was and how much she enjoyed it, and she couldn't possibly decide what was the most beautiful. "Darling, give me back my keys now, for I feel naked without them." And she handed him the ring of keys. All 300 there, only the littlest one missing, which of course Bluebeard noticed immediately. "Where is the littlest key? The one I told you not to use." I lost it." Yeah, I lost it." "What have you done?" Bluebeard grabbed his wife's arm and pulled her up the stairs to their bedroom. And he told her, open all of the trunks, open all of the wardrobes, and find the key. She went to the wardrobe, and she opened it, and the bleeding key had stained all of her dresses red. I told you not to use that key! You went there against my will. Now you will go against your will. No, wait, no, please. Give me but a little time. Just give me a little time to say goodbye to my sister, to make my prayers and peace with life before you take me down there, please. You have 15 minutes! And Bluebeard went down to sharpen his axe and sharpen his knives and prepare the bowls and the pedestal. The middle sister came up and told her sister, our oldest sister went home this morning. She's bringing our brothers back. They will save you. And she breathed a sigh of relief. Okay. All is not lost. It's gonna be okay. But suddenly they began to hear the clomping of Bluebeard's feet on the stairs as he came up to get her. And the middle sister had gone up to the tower to see if the brothers were coming. Are they there? Can you see them? Called the youngest sister. No! Called the middle sister back. And Bluebeard ascended the stairs. What about now? Can you see them now, sister? No! She began to shake, her whole body terrified, knowing what was coming. And the third time she called out, Sister, can you see them? Yes, 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 I see them, they're coming. And the brothers on their horses ran closer and closer to the castle as Bluebeard walked up the stairs. And the brothers, charging in the main hall, ran up the great stairs of the castle and took out their swords and ran Bluebeard through. There was a great funeral. In the family mausoleum, he was laid to rest. And with all of the money that she inherited, Bluebeard's wife bought officer positions in the military for her brothers. And she paid for the weddings of her sisters to marry their beloveds. And she kept living in the castle. Of course, she had it smudged and cleaned, and healers came, and those who speak with angels, and they took care of the whole bloody business in the basement. And in time, she met also one that she might love, a kind, kind man. And their love helped her heal from the trauma of her life with Bluebeard. children. Well, their children told the story to their children. And their children told the story to their children. And as it's passed on from generation to generation, the story of Bluebeard's castle was given to me. And now I give it to you. Just take some time to let the story really land in your heart, mind, and body.